you were sent the script by your agent for The Usual Suspects, and is Kaiser Sose in the audience this evening?
You never know. Well, you need the context of this. You know, it's hard to go back to that moment in time when that script was being passed around, written by a complete and utter unknown. After I crossed that goal line in 1992, after A Few Good Men came out and I was getting offers, the average conversation with the agent is the agent telling you what offers we need to consider, what scripts he's going to send over and what he's not. So we were going down the list this particular day, and he said, you got to read a script called The Usual Suspects. I said, great, who's in it? Nobody really, Gabriel Byrne. Oh, I like him. I saw Miller's Crossing. He's good. Who else? Kevin Spacey. Yeah, who else? You know, Spacey was a character actor like myself who was doing supporting roles. And my agent wasn't even saying he's the lead character, you know, because it didn't make any sense, really. So he said, you just have to read the script. I said, all right, what else? What else is going on? Who's directing it? You never heard of him. Okay, what else has he directed? Nothing really. Okay, who wrote this? Never heard of them. Who are these people? Well, they're friends. One's 25 and the other's 26. What else is going on, George? What other offers? All right, but promise you'll read it. Yeah, I'll read it. What else is happening? And then he would go to the next thing. This went on for a couple of weeks, and finally he said, Bryan Singer, the director, really, really wants to meet with you. He wants you to do the movie. You got to read this. And I really sort of read it to shut up my agent.
But did Bryan see you on the circuit? How did Bryan come across you?
Well, when I eventually read it, by page 3, it was crystal clear that I would not stop reading it until I got to the last page, which never happens. It's still the best script I've ever read. It won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay. I wasn't alone in this thought. Although 28 potential financiers read it, 22 of which passed, 6 of which said we'll make it, but not with Kevin Spacey. And to the director and writer's credit, they said we won't do it without him. They were first timers. So when I met with Bryan Singer, he said, I saw you in A Few Good Men and Avalon. I think you're incredible. I'd love you to be in the film. What part did you like? And I said, well, I heard there's only a few parts left. And he said, yeah, there's Todd Hockney, which is a character I ended up playing. And he said, and then there's Fenster, which is a character that Benicio del Toro ended up playing. And I said, well, I don't want to do Fenster because there's nothing there. His only reason in the script to exist is to, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, sorry, cover your ears,
I think everybody on the
is to die as a message to the rest of the suspects that you cannot run from Kaiser Soze. That was the whole purpose of that character being. He's the sidekick to McManus, Stephen Baldwin's character. By the way, that's absolute proof that the film is lightning in a bottle, that even Stephen Baldwin is amazing in the film. And he really is. He's amazing. You needn't look any further for proof than that fact, that it's lightning in a bottle. And these things don't happen. They really don't. So I met with, so he said, I don't want to do Fenster. And he said, okay, well, what is it about Hockney that you're interested in? And I said, he's a sociopath who we find out much later in the film is the reason they all got arrested initially. I went to high school with a guy who was small, but the scariest sociopath I've ever met, because he would look through you, and there was a sense of danger where you thought he could kill me at any moment. He never tried to kill anyone or was necessarily physical. There was just stories about him that he had, lost it a couple times. So anyways, I said, I've never had a chance to really inhabit that, and also I thought the guy was kind of charming also, which made it a lovable sociopath. And so Brian, there's an interesting story in the book. I break down the auditioning process and how it's horribly designed. Because as a filmmaker, the personality, the abilities from the actors that you want on the set, you're only going to get when that actor has been hired. When they come into audition, they're the opposite of that. They're insecure, they have no confidence. They're attempting to prove themselves. That energy is the photo opposite of what they will bring to you once you hire them, which is what you need them to be as they play in the sandbox and be vulnerable. And so when I met with Brian and he said, I love you and I'd love you to be in the film and I'm glad that you have interest in Hockney, and we parted ways and I drove home and I called George, my agent, and said, all right, it went great. Let's do the movie. And he said, yeah, I talked to Brian, he called me and said, loves you, this is great. And he just has an obligation to meet with a couple of other actors. What are you talking about? I thought he said he wanted me. Well, he does, and you're going to get the part. But he has obligations. This is how it works, Kevin. The other agents, when they say you have to meet with my client, depending on the relationships with the casting director and stuff, he has to take these meetings. He has to meet with these actors. And I said, right, but what if one of those actors auditions and gets the part while we're waiting and filled with confidence that the part is mine? George said, that's not going to happen. Kevin, it's a formality. You just have to trust me on this. I said, I do trust you. You convinced me to read the script. You win. But now I'm desperate and I will kill for the part. So you tell Bryan Singer that I will come in and audition. Oh, no, Kevin, you can't audition. You don't understand. It took us years to get offer only. That's the phrase the agents use. You're offer only now. You can't go back. You can't go back. You go back, you're done. If anyone knows that you'll audition, then the offer's stopped. I get to say to people, well, he's offer only. If you want him, you have to make us an offer. And then they go back to the director, and they tell the director, you have to make an offer. And the director says, but I want him. Well, then you have to make an... And there's a whole game, Kevin. You can't... I said, stop talking. I'm not going to be an agent, so stop educating me on how to be an agent. You just need to call Bryan Singer and find out when I can go in and audition. Because I'm not going to take any chances of losing this part. And I, in fact, had not auditioned for a part in 3 years, which would have normally been about 50 auditions back in the day, at least. So Brian was thrilled, couldn't believe it, said it wasn't necessary. I went in and auditioned, and it felt kind of great to show him and myself kind of feeling like this is mine to screw up, as opposed to this is mine to get. I can only screw this up, so I'll just throw caution to the wind. And he was thrilled beyond belief and got, because I did sense a little something in our conversation, the phrasing of, yeah, I've never seen you do something like this. You're right, you really haven't done anything like this, as in, can you do this? So on the drive home, George called and said, Brian called me and he's not going to meet the other two actors.